Hey there everyone, the Video Game Cabinet here. Today I'm doing my top 35 favorite games of the 6th generation. According to Wikipedia, this is the Dreamcast, the PlayStation 2, GameCube, original Xbox, and Game Boy Advance. These are games that I have beaten from start to end credits, and I will not be including any reskins or compilations here. I'm only going to include perhaps a drastic remake if there's enough changes. Specifically, there is one survival horror game by Capcom that's going to be on the list. Um, and there's a couple of PC games on here that never got ported to consoles, but I'm going to include them on this generation. These two games are kind of wild cards. I'll specify which ones as they come up. Um, and as I've said before, this, just like with the other few lists that I've made this week, this list will be massaged over time. It's not perfect. Taste changes. I'm just making these lists this month sort of as a starting point, something to work with and massage over time. And just like the other few lists this week, I'm putting a timestamp on it. This is October of 2023. And this is how I feel today. My taste will change. I'm going to see the list, and I'm going to say, once I post it, I'll probably want to already make movements on it. But for now, for today, this is what I feel are the 35 my favorite / best games of the 6th generation. Kicking things off with number 35, I'm giving it to the original God of War on PS2. This was an awesome action game with epic boss battles, and I actually prefer this style compared to the newer style they did in 2018. This is classic God of War at its finest, in my opinion, and this is still my favorite in the series. Number 34, I'm going with Prince of Persia, The Sands of Time. This was multi-platform, but I played it mostly on the GameCube. This was actually a reboot to the old series that came out years prior, and it mixes up things a lot. This game has some of the best platforming and parkour I've ever seen in any game ever. This was a beautiful game and just a joy with the platforming and parkour. The only knock I'm going to give it is that the combat is very slow. A lot of the fights really drag on. The combat later inspired other games in later generations that did it a lot better, the way it was free-flowing. But as is here, it didn't work nearly as well as the platforming. But on the platforming alone, this was a really great game. Number 33, I'm giving to Devil May Cry 1 and Devil May Cry 3. I played it on the Greatest Hits Special Edition. Devil May Cry 1, I remember loving this game back when it came out when I was a senior in high school. And this was, Devil May Cry 1 was really the game that pushed me to buy a PlayStation 2 at first. The graphics, the swordplay were very impressive. This game just looked so cool, and it was great. Devil May Cry 3, I played long time later, long after it came out. Actually, in the last couple years, I finally played it. I think I beat it on easy mode. I'm gonna have to go back and play it on some of the harder difficulty settings because I know that a lot of fans love 3 as the best. But as is, I'm gonna put them as a tie. And they're both really fun 3D action that is definitely. The third one I'm definitely going to have to come back to, and even the first one I want to replay at some point. Number 32, I'm giving to Otogi II on the original Xbox. Otogi 1 was also really good, but Otogi 2 was even better. Both Otogi 1 and 2 I beat a couple of years ago, and I thought that this game was really awesome, really atmospheric. Very, very challenging towards the end, especially. This game was from Software, who later made the Dark Souls games, and this is a great precursor to all that stuff. Really atmospheric, really challenging. I love the Nine-Tailed Fox final boss battle. That was really hard And this is just a great hidden gem on the original Xbox. Number 31, I'm giving to Raymond II, The Great Escape on the Sega Dreamcast. I believe this also came out on the N64, but I played it on the Dreamcast, and I'm counting it towards this generation. And yeah, this game was just a beautiful, amazing platformer that's just wonderful to explore the lush environments. These graphics really were just so colorful, just so beautiful. It's one of the most beautiful games on the system, and I was really happy to finally play this last year, and it really did not disappoint. Number 30, I'm giving to Super Mario Sunshine. I loved this game back when it came out. I know it's a bit of a dark horse in the Mario series, but I thought it was really good. I will admit that some little bits about it felt a little bit rushed, like Yoshi, they just kind of tacked on. And the camera definitely takes some getting used to, but once you learn how to use it, you get better at using it. And the game is very good. Once you sharpen up your skills, I could get through it without much problem. It is challenging, but that's part of the fun. And, you know, the controls, everything, the tropical island that you're on, it's a great setting. It's different. I loved the water pack. I thought that was a genius idea to put in here. And I think this is pretty underrated by some people. Number 29, I'm going with Shinobi on PlayStation 2. I remember hearing people saying that this game was just brutally difficult and near impossible. I got through it all the way a couple decades ago when I played it. I beat this game legit, and it is hard, but the razor sharp controls definitely help a lot. It takes practice, it takes patience, but I love the Tate system where you hit a bunch of enemies in a row, and then you perform a move to execute all of them in one shot and build up your sword. It's been a while since I played this, but I remember really, really loving it for the controls, the music, the badass ninja style. This was a really, really great game. Number 28, I am going with Eternal Darkness Sanity's Requiem for the GameCube. This was an awesome survival horror game that really took everyone by surprise back when it came out. I played it when it released over 20 years ago, and then I played through it again, I think in the last few years. Very impressive title. There's like these fear effects to where if you get too scared, the game starts to mess with you, and it's really cool. And it takes place over a bunch of different timelines with a bunch of different characters, and each little segment is like an episode of Tales from the Crypt. It's really, really cool. This game was very unique and a must-own title for the GameCube. Number 27, I'm going with Need for Speed Hot Pursuit 2 on PS2. I never played any of the other Need for Speed games. This is the only one that I've played, but I thought it was fantastic. I think this is one of the fastest, most intense racing games I've ever played. I thought it was really cool, and you interact with the police in this one. There's damage on the cars. There's branching paths throughout the tracks. I thought this was a badass racing game, and definitely one of the best racing games I've ever played. Number 26, I'm going with Twisted Metal Black on PlayStation 2. This, along with Devil May Cry, were the ones that definitely made me want to get a PlayStation 2 immediately in high school. This game was badass. As great as Twisted Metal 2 was on the PS1, this game just kicked things up a few notches, and it was so dark. The little stories with the different characters, like Sweet Tooth, were unforgettable. They were like their own little episodes of Tales from the Crypt. It was really cool. There were destructible environments. It was super dark, just like the title says, black. It's dated now, car combat, but this is definitely the best car combat game ever made. It was really, really cool at the time. Number 25, I'm giving to Advance Wars on the Game Boy Advance. This was an amazing game for the system right when it launched. I played through this back in freshman year of college, and I thought it was awesome. The turn-based combat, the cartoony graphics, the interaction between the characters. This was just a really, really deep tactical game that was an absolute classic, and I'm definitely going to have to go back and replay this. It was just so much fun. Number 24, I'm giving to Castlevania Circle of the Moon and Castlevania Aria of Sorrow on the Game Boy Advance. These two Castlevanias were really outstanding. Great portable entries in the series. Harmony of Dissonance, not so much. I didn't think it was nearly as great as these two. The music was outstanding in both. The upgrades, the weapons that you could get, the castles that you could explore. Definitely not as big as Symphony of the Night, but these were both two really excellent entries in the Castlevania series, and absolutely essential portable games to buy. Number 23, I'm going with Panzer Dragoon Orta on the original Xbox. This is an amazing on-rails 3D shooter, just like the first two games in the series. My favorite is still Saga, the RPG, but this game is outstanding anyway. And you can evolve your dragon, it changes throughout the game. It's got amazing graphics and amazing world that they've built, just like with the other three in the series. And it's a real shame that the developers have not continued with the Panzer Dragoon series. I would love to see a fifth game, but what we got here is outstanding anyway, and a must-play for the original Xbox. At number 22, we have another tie. It's the Resident Evil remake on the GameCube and Resident Evil 4 on the GameCube. First, I want to talk about Resident Evil Remake. This was an amazing game that completely changed the original effort and mixed things up. The graphics were incredible, and it really made everything fresh and different, and that's why I'm putting it on the list, and it was really amazing, and I love the original game, but this one was really cool to play through as well. And Resident Evil 4, this game mixed things up a lot and has been one of the most influential games made in the last couple decades. And I thought it was excellent. I preferred the old style a little bit to the new, more action-oriented type, but this was still an outstanding game. And it's not my favorite Resident Evil, but it was still wonderful, awesome, and right now I'm going to give these two a tie, but my favorite in the series is coming up a little bit later on the list. Number 21, I'm giving to The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker. This game was really awesome. I know at first people were a little bit weird about the cartoony graphics, but it turned out to be a great fit. And this game was just another wonderful Zelda game. It's not my top favorite in the series or anything, but it was still a joy to play. It was still an excellent entry in this very long series. I love the cartoony graphics. It's more classic Zelda, but you're out on the sea, and it's really cool. And this was just a great essential game for the GameCube. Number 20, I'm going with Fatal Fury: Mark of the Wolves. I played this on the Dreamcast, and I thought this was an amazing fighting game with beautiful animations and graphics. I believe SNK made this game in response to Street Fighter III Third Strike, and it really has a great level of polish. My personal favorite character to play back in the day was B. Genet, and I just remember this being a really deep fighter, really fun. I never got into Fatal Fury before this game, but this entry definitely made me a fan, and I just thought this was a very excellent fighting game. Number 19, I'm giving to Burnout III Takedown. I played this on the Xbox. This is my vote for the best racing game ever made. I had so much fun with this. The way that when you crashed, you slowed down time and did an aftertouch where you could barely nudge your car to crash into another car. It was just an amazing, thrilling, emotional experience that, you know, we've never seen anything like this before. This game had a big impact on everybody back when it came out, and yeah, I would say this is my favorite racing game of all time. Number 18, I am giving to Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1, 2, and 3. I know the first two games came out on the PlayStation 1 from last generation, but I played them on the Dreamcast, and that is where they were superior. And these games just had a huge impact on the video game culture, everything back when they came out, skateboarding culture, everything. These were just amazing extreme sports titles that made everybody fall in love with skateboarding and made skateboarding cool again. the controls were just so intuitive and just felt so perfect and genius. And then Tony Hawk 2, that introduced the manual to make things even deeper, to string together longer combos. And Tony Hawk 3 had the revert, where you could link the ramps together, the ramp tricks together. This game was just such an amazing breath of fresh air for everybody, and so addicting to just keep playing over and over and over again. I loved all three of them. The third one, technically, I would say is the best because it adds the revert, but 2's soundtrack was amazing. Part 1 was just incredible as the first entry. The level design, everything. These games were incredible. I know they made too many sequels after these, but the first 3 Tony Hawks really were just absolute classics. Number 17, I'm giving to Halo Combat Evolved for the original Xbox. This was the big reason to buy an Xbox back in the day, and this game was still amazing. I beat it on one of the lower difficulty settings, but I never made it through Legendary. I may have to go back and try to do that, because this game really was a classic. It was amazing for its time. Really, really, really fun multiplayer that you know, this series didn't go online yet, but playing with friends, I have so many great memories of hooking up the Xbox at a buddy's house. I believe you could link together a couple different systems, and it was just so much fun and great campaign. The levels got a little bit repetitive in the second half, but this game was just still amazing and really birthed an incredible series with a great soundtrack, and this game started a big fan base, but I loved it personally myself. It's an unforgettable experience. Number 16, I'm going with Resident Evil Code Veronica. This right here is my favorite Resident Evil game, and probably my favorite survival horror game of all time. I also have it on the PlayStation 2 down there, but I mostly played it on the Dreamcast. I just remember the story being really good, the graphics being amazing, being on the next-gen console, Dreamcast here, and just a really epic Resident Evil game from start to finish. You play as a couple different characters throughout the campaign, and I just remember this being really good. It's been a while since I played it, but this is absolutely my favorite Resident Evil game, and really just a really standout title on the Dreamcast. Number 15, I am going with Grand Theft Auto 3, Grand Theft Auto Vice City, and Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. All three of these games were amazing. Games were just never the same after Grand Theft Auto 3 came out. This had a huge impact on what people expected from video games and open world and everything. There was just so much stuff that you could do, and it just kept on getting even better with Vice City and the 80s setting, and San Andreas topped them all with just sheer size, variety, and everything. The characters here were just so hilarious and memorable, and there was just so much stuff you could do. These games were just so much fun. Like I said, they had a big impact on everybody back in the day, and, you know, I haven't played them in a while. They might be a little bit dated now, but I remember having so much fun and just could not get enough of these back when they came out, and they are absolutely essential for the PlayStation 2 library. Number 14, I'm going with Virtua Fighter 4. I also played the Evolution version, but I mostly played the original version on PS2. I just remember this being an amazingly deep 3D fighting game that I never played much of the other games in the series, but this game really made me a fan, and I sunk a ton of hours back in college into this game, and it was just so deep. My favorite character was Lau. Mastering this game felt like mastering a real-life martial art. It was that deep, that technical. It really punished button mashing. You could not do that. You really had to learn how the game was played in this one. And it was really a masterpiece 3D fighter back in the day. It's been a while since I played it, but I have great memories of this one. Number 13, I'm going with Ikaruga. I mostly played this on the Dreamcast, but I also have the GameCube version down there. This one and Radiant Silvergun are really close for my favorite shmup of all time. And throwing Gunstar Heroes in there, those three games are really close for my favorite treasure game of all time. It's really hard to decide. But Ikaruga itself, wow. This game's presentation, the music, wow, epic. And this game blew me away back in the day. And the ability to switch between black and white and absorb different bullets really almost made it feel like a puzzle game sometimes and a shmup at the same time. This was a masterpiece. This is treasure at its finest, and just an unforgettable game and a heart-pounding, thrilling experience from start to finish. Number 12, I'm going with Starcraft and the expansion set Brood War. This is one of those PC exclusives that I was talking about that I'm just shuffling onto this generation. I know that there's a StarCraft on Nintendo 64, but it's not the same. And according to Wikipedia, this generation actually starts in 1998, which is when this game came out. So that's why I'm going to put it on this generation's list. But anyway, yes, this version, StarCraft right here, I remember playing so much of this back in the day. This was an amazing RTS. I know a lot of people got really competitive with this one back in its heyday. I had a lot of fun with it myself, just in single player and playing with friends here and there. Really an amazing game. I did play it a few years after it had come out and been popular, but I had a lot of fun with it anyway, and I thought it was really cool. It's been a while since I played this one, but I remember it being really, really great. Number 11, I'm going with Final Fantasy X on PS2. This was really amazing back when I played it over 20 years ago. Another one that I'm going to have to go back and play again, but I remember it being wonderful. I remember this feeling a lot like Final Fantasy VIII done right. It had the tall characters. It focused on a theme of love and romance between the two leads. But it was a very, very entertaining story that swept me from start to finish. I loved the romance between Tidus and Yuna, and there's a beautiful kissing scene around the middle of the game that, you know, this game also had just a wonderful soundtrack, gorgeous graphics, awesome CG cutscenes, and I just remember being a really, really good story the whole way through. Number 10, I'm going with Skies of Arcadia for the Dreamcast. I know it was also on GameCube, but the Dreamcast version is the superior version in my opinion. Very tough call picking between this and Final Fantasy X, but as of today, I'm going to give Skies of Arcadia the slight edge. This game had a wonderful story, wonderful cast of characters from start to finish, great sense of exploration, flying through the skies in these floating pirate ships. Just a really unique game with just a great atmosphere and like I said, great sense of adventure. The music in the Dreamcast version is really the game's absolute strongest point. It's a powerful soundtrack with amazing boss battle and fight music. The GameCube version uses a smaller mini disc, and it completely neuters the soundtrack. The Dreamcast version is full CD, so it sounds incredible, and this is the version to play. Yeah, this game was just a classic masterpiece RPG that is the absolute best RPG on the Dreamcast. Number 9, I'm giving to Shadow of the Colossus on PS2. This game was just an absolute work of art, and it you know, it plays and feels like a dream, and exploring the barren land and finding the Colossus, there's 16 different of them, and climbing to the top of them and defeating them, it was so epic. And climbing the giants to this soaring music, that beautiful soundtrack, just an incredible, unforgettable game that is so artistic and so unique. There's never been anything else like this. It's just one of the masterpieces on PlayStation 2. Number 8, I'm going to give to Eko the Dolphin on the PlayStation 2. That version, not the Dreamcast version. Quick little thing, the original two Eko games were some of my absolute favorite games of all time, and I was so hyped when I heard that there was a Dreamcast version coming out. But when I played that 20 years ago, it was loaded with bugs, glitches, it was a rushed project, there was potential there, the graphics were gorgeous, the controls were felt like a dream, and the levels were beautiful. It was one of the most beautiful games I'd ever seen, but there was no sense of direction. It was a painful game to play, and it had some serious technical issues that hampered what would have been a masterpiece. But a couple of years later, the team polished it up and released it on the PlayStation 2. I didn't play this version until 20 years later, which was a year ago. And I gave the game a second chance here on the PS2 version, and this fixed all the problems, all the technical issues that were on the Dreamcast original. This is the 3D Eko game that I was dreaming about since I was a child, and it was the masterpiece that I wanted it to be all those years ago, and it was a joy to play from start to finish last year. It completely erased my memories of how problematic the Dreamcast version was, and this really was the masterpiece underwater dolphin adventure that I had been hoping for, that I'd been craving my whole life. And the more I think about it, the better it gets. That's why I'm ranking it so high on this list. But yeah, this really was an incredible game, and it's a shame that the Dreamcast version was so rushed. But this one, like I said, it fixes the glitches. When you press the L3 button, it points Eko's nose to the next objective, but you still have to solve the puzzle yourself. And it still has the same wonderful graphics, gorgeous graphics. It's one of the most beautiful games ever made. The same dreamlike controls, the same big, gorgeous levels. This game was just something really special. Number 7, I'm giving to Soul Calibur on the Dreamcast. This wins my vote as greatest exclusive launch title for any system ever. This game blew me away. I have never been more impressed by a game's graphical prowess than when I saw Soul Calibur for the first time back in 1999. The animations of the characters, the graphics were just gorgeous. You could see the little muscles rippling on the characters, and the game was so fun to play. This is the best 3D weapons-based fighter ever, easily. I sunk so many hours into this game back with my friends and on the Dreamcast, and it was just an amazing port of the arcade game, and improved it so much with a bunch of single-player content. And you could just pick this game up and play it and have so much fun with any of the characters. It had such an epic feel to it. I could not stop listening to the soundtrack. This game was just a technical marvel and just loads of fun to this day. Number 6, I'm giving to Ninja Gaiden on the Xbox. I also have Ninja Gaiden Black down there, but I haven't played that one yet. I've just played this original version back when it came out. This game blew me away with its 3D swordplay combat. This had the best feeling 3D combat I think I've ever seen in any game ever. I mean, as good as God of War was, this game blew it out of the water. It had the depth of a fighting game with so many combos and so many different ways you could move around and do gymnastics, but with an action beat 'em up type game. The depth of a fighting game with an action game was just incredible. And the boss battles in this game were so challenging, such an accomplishment to get all the way through this back in 2004. This game, required mastery, required patience, but it was so much fun and so hard. But my God, I love a challenge. This game, absolutely the best game on the original Xbox, without question. Number 5, I'm giving to Warcraft 3 Reign of Chaos and the Frozen Throne expansion. This is the other PC game on the list that I just put into this generation. Never got ported to console, but this is my favorite real-time strategy game of all time, bar none. I sunk so many hours into this game back when it came out in the early 2000s. I had so much fun. There was more of a focus on you know, building up your hero, leveling him up quickly, and then having small skirmishes with your army. And there were 4 different races that you could pick from. I like the undead the most. And single player campaign or playing endless hours on multiplayer, it was all too much fun. I'd love to go back and play this, but right now I don't have a gaming PC. But man, this was where it was at. You know, I don't play too many multiplayer games, but this one I played a ton of. And like I said, even the single player was amazing. This is the greatest real-time strategy game of all time, without question. I love this game so much. Coming in at number 4 is Street Fighter III Third Strike. This is my favorite fighting game of all time. In the arcades, it was amazing. There's various ports that I played. You know, originally I played a lot of it on the Dreamcast, but it later got ported with online mode to the Xbox, and it's on this compilation on the PS4. Me and my friends played so much of Third Strike on the various ports, and the parrying, the fluid animation was absolutely jaw-dropping. The 2D sprites, everything just looked incredible. All the characters were large, and this is just like the most beautiful graphics I've ever seen in a fighting game. They don't make them like they used to, and I don't think they ever will again. And the parry system really is what makes this so good. And the fighting is just so fluid. It feels like there's so many possibilities. This game was deep, deep, deep. It had such a serious feel to it. You couldn't just button mash. This game felt like mastering a real-life martial art as well, just like the best fighters do. And you know, it's my favorite fighting game of all time. You know, Soul Calibur, I might say, is still like the best overall Dreamcast game for what that did with single player content and with improving upon the arcade. But overall, Street Fighter III Third Strike, in the arcades at least, is my single favorite fighting game overall of all time. Number 3, I'm giving to Metroid Prime on the GameCube. Wow, this game blew me away back when I first saw it, when it first came out on GameCube, and the graphics were just so fluid. The way they took the series and brought it into first person, but had moments where it drew back into third person, was absolute brilliance. There's a lot of emphasis on the morph ball in this one, and that gives you the third person perspective that we were originally craving, but then we saw how well the first-person viewpoint worked with this, and this game was just incredible. It's really close between this and Super Metroid as my favorite in the series, but graphically and technically and gameplay-wise, this game just blew me away. It wowed me like few games have, and it's just absolutely the best game ever on the GameCube. Number 2, I'm going with the original Half-Life. I first played this game on the PS2, but I later also played it on the PC, and I know that's where it originally came out. This game, I remember being so stoked to want to play it back in high school, and then I finally got to play it when it got ported to the PS2 back in 2001. This game blew me away. Even being 3 years old at the time when I played it, this game was just incredible. First-person shooters were never the same after this, and this really, you know, probably the most influential first-person shooter made, but maybe besides Doom. But this game, just absolutely one of my instant favorites as soon as I played it. Absolute masterpiece, 10 out of 10. The way it never broke first person and was just told through Gordon's eyes, and the intense combat, the AI, everything felt so real. There was before this, there was never anything like this. It just such an amazing achievement, and still an endlessly playable classic today, and just so much fun, and just an incredible, thrilling masterpiece. And my number 1 game of Generation 6 is the Zenos Saga trilogy on PlayStation 2. These games and Xenogears on PS1 have the two best storylines in any RPG ever, and that's why I'm picking these as my number one game of this generation. I remember being so excited for these games. I played Xenogears, which is made by the same development team. I played that in early college, right before these games were about to come out, and I was so stoked. And they did not disappoint me. I really, really love these games. I know some fans dog on Episode 2, but I love Zenos Saga Episode 2. I thought it was wonderful. They changed Cosmos' voice actress in that second installment, but she only has 2 lines. And then they bring back the old voice actress in the third one. And the third entry, it really brings it all home and answers all the questions that are brought up in episode 1 and 2. And this game just has the most amazing epic narrative with intrigue about the characters and the plot and the history behind what's going on. This whole story, these games are masterpieces in my opinion. I love them. You know, I thought they were fantastic from start to finish, and I love a great RPG, especially for their great stories, and this game delivers on the story big time. It's so epic from start to finish, and you know, this was an amazing follow-up, you know, after playing Xenogears. We were all hoping that these 3 games would connect to Xenogears, and that didn't turn out to be the case, but as the trilogy that they are, this storyline is just incredible and absolutely a must-own for any PS2 player. I love these games to death, and that's why I'm giving them the number 1 spot. So there you have it, guys. That is my top 35 of Generation 6. I gotta say, just like Generation 5's list, this was a really hard one to hammer down. I don't know, especially all throughout, especially towards the top, because this generation had some absolute bangers that really just changed the face of gaming. So it was really, really hard to pick between them. You know, I'm such a Xeno fanboy, you know, with Xenogears and Zenos Saga. I had to put that very high, as well as Eko the Dolphin on PS2. It just made so many improvements over the Dreamcast version. But yeah, some of these games up top here, starting with the Zenos Saga trilogy, Half-Life, Metroid Prime, Third Strike, Warcraft 3, Ninja Gaiden, and Soul Calibur, those are absolutely 10 out of 10s. Like, I could not put those right at the top. Eko Defender the Future, I loved so much the PS2 version that I nudged it to a 10 in my review last year. It really was a marvelous experience, you know, since the developers took their time with that port. Shadow of the Colossus, Skies of Arcadia, Final Fantasy X, Starcraft, Ikaruga, even Virtua Fighter 4. Those are like right in between 9, 5, and 10. It's really hard for me to say. You know, I'd love to go back and do video reviews on these games. And then starting with the Grand Theft Auto trilogy, these are definitely 9.5s. And Code Veronica, the original Halo, the Tony Hawk trilogy, Burnout 3, and Mark of the Wolves. Those I can comfortably give a 9.5. And then the rest of these are pretty much 9s. Wind Waker, Resident Evil 4 and Resident Evil Remake, Dragoon, Orta, Aria of Sorrow, Circle of the Moon, Advance Wars, Twisted Metal Black, Hot Pursuit 2, Eternal Darkness, Shinobi, Mario Sunshine, Raymond II, Otogi II, DMC 1 and 3, Sands of Time, and the original God of War. Yeah, those I can comfortably give all of those a 9 out of 10. All of these games were wonderful. There were a lot more games that were really good too, you know, that I would give 8s and 8.5s this year, and even others that I haven't played yet. You know, this generation, like I said, was loaded with heavy hitters, and it was very hard to commit to a list here. But as of today, in October of 2023, I'm forcing myself to put numbers on all of these and rank them. This is how I feel today. I'm sure this list will be massaged over time, but that is it for now. That's my top 35 of Generation 6.